Welcome to the Herd's official YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out the Colin Cowherd podcast, all of our NFL instant reactions, and more football content. J-Mac, it's inevitable when a young quarterback flourishes, everybody's like, well, is it the coach or is it the quarterback? We always got to give everybody credit. We got to figure out who gets the credit. So that's all I'm hearing this morning. Well, is it Mike Vrabel or is it Drake Maye? And this is an easy one. Folks, all you have to do is look at the Washington Commanders. Why are they so bad this year? Because Jaden Daniels got hurt. Did Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury forget how to coach? No. Jaden Daniels is hurt. The team stinks. In college football, it's 70-30. Coach matters more than quarterback. He's head coach, GM, and therapist. In the NFL, flip it. Look at Mike Tomlin. When he had prime Big Ben, Super Bowls. Old Big Ben, playoffs, but couldn't beat good teams. Now, yikes. So the Colts, Shane Steichen, was he a bum last year? No, they upgraded at quarterback to Daniel Jones. Andy Reid's entire career was, he's a very good coach. Now he's a legend. Why? He gets smarter? Mahomes. If you're looking at last night, 80% of the NFL winning games comes down to your quarterback making 5, 6, 7 throws or decisions. High-level execution that wins games. Mike Vrabel's not winning that game last night with Justin Fields as his quarterback because it was a reasonably close game. But Drake Maye made 6 or 7 decisions and throws that are incredibly high level. That kid is so good on first down, it's amazing. He had a jump pass, a couple sideline throws. That's the difference. I mean, Mike Vrabel certainly elevates him. Mike Vrabel made Ryan Tannehill a #1 seed. Remember that in Tennessee? Who did Vrabel get beat by that year in the playoffs? At home, as a favorite. Zach Taylor. That's not who beat him. Joe Burrow beat him with a much worse roster. And Vrabel knows that. I mean, and Vrabel, like Belichick, understands that a lot of times, just give it to the coordinator and the quarterback. It's a little harder to do when Drake May's young, but, I mean, Belichick largely, Tom Brady and Josh McDaniels ran the offense. They were on the phone constantly. So Josh McDaniels, probably the best offensive coordinator in the league last decade. I guarantee you he and Drake Maye are running most of the offense. And that's not a knock. I mean, but I mean, you watch the Jets offense, it looks like a service academy. They run on 3rd and 8. That's like Jurassic. That's awful. But I watched that game last night. There's another one of his throws right there. He just made about 6 or 7 big plays in a reasonably close game. There's another one. You know, back of the linebacker, in front of the safety. That's what the kid does. And, you know, again, I am not saying that Reid doesn't deserve credit for Mahomes. In college, Mark Few is Gonzaga basketball. Nick Saban was Bama football. They recruit, they develop, they're the therapist, they're the GM, they work the cap, they do the international stuff, they make every decision. That's not the way it works. Vrabel doesn't want to make every decision. He's trying to build a culture. You see this thing he does? When he's been doing this for years. That's culture building. He is a player's coach, and he wants you can't do everything. You can't do that, coach the offense, the defense, do the cap. That's what Belichick tried to do. Old Belichick tried to do that. He took over personnel. He was terrible at it. He was a great culture builder and a great defensive coach. So Vrabel's absolutely a huge part of this. But in the NFL, it's always felt like to me it's 65-35, 70-30. You got to have the guy that can execute at a high level, intellectually, physically, emotionally, and that is potential MVP, Drake Maye.
Drake, how's it feel to get those MVP chants and just have people recognize the way you're playing right now?
Yeah, it was maybe for Travion tonight. I mean, he scored 3 touchdowns. So, I think it's, our friends have, been great with, me since I got here, since I got drafted. And I think just appreciate them for, embracing me, just trying to embrace this city and, give these fans and this team and, just myself, just leave it all out there and give me everything I got.
And here's the other thing about Drake Maye. He's unbelievable on first down. He completes 78% of his throws on first down. Last night, he was 9 for 11. That is the highest completion percentage on first down since they've tracked it. And that they're always ahead of the chains. What did Belichick say about Brady? When they asked Belichick about Brady, his greatest thing, he didn't say his arm. You know what he said? He didn't go backwards. No pre-snap penalties, didn't take a lot of sacks. We always had 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4, 2nd and 6. I mean, Justin Fields, you don't know what you get by 2nd down. With Drake Maye, you're ahead of the chains. That opens up the playbook for Josh McDaniels. It opens up the playbook, the culture for Mike Vrabel. So much of what Drake Maye does is what Brady does. Now he's a more athletic version of Brady, and he's not right now pre-snap as good as Brady. But Brady was so good on 1st down. You were never playing behind the sticks. That's exactly what Drake Maye does. It's a gift. He's great at it. You know, I said they were going to double their win total from last year. My bad. They're going to triple it. Well, whenever it's college or pro, and this is why I've always defended Lincoln Riley, I always say with a new coach, does he at least get his side of the ball right? USC's offense since Lincoln arrived, top 2 or 3 in the country. Aaron Glenn got hired by the Jets as a defensive guy. Dude, Robert Saleh's last 3 years in New York, top 5 defenses, all 3 years. Aaron Glenn has nuked the Jets defense. It's now terrible. Forget the fact he can't handle press conferences. Basic press conference. It was fighting with me. Forget the fact the offense looks like a service academy. I mean, it's embarrassing. Their defense, opposing quarterbacks against the Jets this year, have 18 touchdowns and no picks. They have 1 takeaway all season. 2nd worst in the league is 6. I mean, it's like the guy took over McDonald's and he can't even get the French fries right. I didn't ask for new menu items. I didn't ask for the milkshake machine to work at McDonald's. It never does. Just keep the fries great. We didn't ask him to do a lot. Just keep the defense good. I mean, the Jets defense has no identity. It's bad. They don't take the ball away. The pressure's inconsistent. I'm not going to beat up on him for the media stuff, which is embarrassing, or the offense. That's not his side of the ball. But you got to get the defense right. You got to know what you're doing defensively. And you can say what you want about Robert Saleh, and I admit, I think Saleh should get another head coaching job, but Saleh's defenses were really good. Well, they traded Sauce Gardner and Quinton Williams recently. So, I mean, I'm not asking for new items on the menu here. Just keep the stuff that was good. That's all I'm asking. So when people say, well, Colin, you said this year 1 with Dan Campbell in Detroit. No, I didn't. No, I did not. I said year 1 when they were losing 6-1 possession games about Dan Campbell. I said, I hate his press conferences, but God, this team plays hard. They were crazy aggressive, going forward on 4th down. He created an identity. The Lions were playing their butt off. They just had a terrible defense. That was pre-Aiden Hutchinson. You got to show me something. He can't do it defensively. So, and then he's got, here, remember before the season when, I know Aaron Rodgers can be a little difficult. I'm not denying that. But there was a moment, there was a tell. Aaron Rodgers got on his private jet, flew all the way cross country because he still wanted to play football and he wanted to be a New York Jet. And do you remember what happened? I'll read you the story. He goes, it was really strange. I thought we were going to have this long conversation. I flew across the country. 20 seconds in, Aaron leans in the edge of his seat and says, so you want to play football? And I'm like, yeah, I'm interested. And he was like, yeah, we're going in a different direction at quarterback. He goes, I was shocked. Not shocked because I didn't think it was a possibility. Shocked because I just flew across the country. You could have told me over the phone. And when I heard that, and I text a few executives in the league, they were like, yeah, that's not great. You don't want to treat players like that. Word's going to get out. Listen, you got to treat employees well. Professional football players, young or old, they're employees. You want to treat them well if you're the manager, if you're the coach, if you're the CEO. So I thought that was weird. And he can't deal with the media, but I'm not going to beat him up for that or the offense, which are inept. But the defense is horrible. It's got no identity. I was texting with an executive last night. I'm like, what am I watching? So if we can get rid of quarterbacks, if we can one and done quarterbacks, can you not do it with a coach? I mean, I remember Freddie Kitchens. I was like, Baker doesn't respect him. The body language is weird. Freddie Kitchens is not an NFL head coach. Remember that in Cleveland? I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work. That's not going to work. Mike McDaniel at least showed signs offensively, and Mike McDaniel's on the hot seat, but Mike McDaniel's in the first couple years with all that motion, we were like, man, that's a sophisticated offense. He may not make it, but you saw things with Mike McDaniel. You're like, okay, that does work. That is smart. So I don't like people going cross country, getting a new job, but opposing quarterbacks this year have 18 touchdowns, no picks, and have a passer rating at 104. And I remember years ago, and I've defended Kyler Murray to the end. I have been a Kyler Murray guy to the point where I get made fun of on this show. But there are these little tells during job interviews. My wife used to be in HR, and she'd say, people would say things in job interviews, and you're like, I can't believe somebody said that in the job interview. You do see glimpses on dates. They say men need 8 seconds, women need 8 minutes to decide, yes, I'll get intimate with that person, right? Like stuff happens very quickly. I always said this American Idol. I don't know music. I can listen for 15 seconds and go, that's a hack, that's a star, that's a good lounge singer. It's not that difficult. And I always said, I've been a Kyler Murray fan. But remember that interview before he played in the NFL with Dan Patrick? Remember that? I'll play it. I'll play a little bit. Remember this interview.
Are you going to the combine?
I don't know.
Well, wait. Dad, is he going to the combine? Dad had no comment there. Wait, are you going to spring training?
I don't know.
Wait, you don't know? Dad, is he going to spring training? Another no comment here.
Okay, so that's weird. You're the most verbal position in sports, quarterback. It's just odd. Well, from that to here, there have been questions about his commitment. Does he like baseball more? Does he put the time in? Doesn't mean he's a bad human being. But it was a tell. It's like that. That's weird. That's a quarterback. I'm all for quirky, not at quarterback. So the Aaron Glenn, the fighting stuff, the Aaron Rodgers stuff is like, I don't know. I don't know, man. Hey, but more than anything, okay, let's just go look at the defense. I'm not going to blame him for media. I'm not going to blame him for arguing with New York Post reporters. I'm not going to crush him on the offense. Let's just go look at his defense. It's awful. There's nothing to it. That's why I defend the Lincoln Rileys. USC's offense has been unbelievable. Number one in the nation like 3 times in 4 or 5 years. I don't know if he can build a culture, but he knows offense. I mean, the Mike McDonald for the Seahawks, first year, took the 28th defense to 11th. I'm like, yeah, that guy knows defense. I don't know if he's going to be a head coach. Now, in year 2, you're like, yeah, the defense is even better. So I got to judge you on your expertise because I know building culture is hard. I know the other side of the ball is hard. I know the media can be obnoxious in big cities. That defense, there's nothing to it.
Well, Colin, it's hard to be a good defense when your offense can't move the football. I mean, 121 passing yards this week. I think they had 54 last week.
Well,
there's so much pressure on the defense. But I'll say this. Listen, last year with the Patriots, Gerard Mayo was a dumpster fire. We both saw that. It was obvious.
Yeah.
However, they had a man, we want Vrabel. We're going all into Vrabel. We got him. I understood that. If you want to go one and done with Glenn, that's fine, Colin, but I need a name. I need a surefire.
Mike McCarthy. 12-5, 12-5, 12-5, 3 years in a row in Dallas.
I'm aware. I like him. You want to pair him with Mendoza, fine. I'll get on board with that, but I don't know that McCarthy's going to want to go to the Jets. Remember, he left a 12-win Cowboys team because the owner was nutty. So is he going to want to get back in? What do they say? Out of the frying pan into the pot?
You're a Jets fan.
Yeah, I am.
Isn't it legitimate that at least get the defense right?
Well, it's a little harder. You know, it was a little harder last night when you trade away Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, but it was bad before that.
It was bad before that. They have solid against the Browns.
They've had one takeaway all season.
Yeah, I know. That's
the whole season. The second fewest in the league is 6.
Yeah, they did do a good job against Maye. Bo Nix, your guy. They bottled him up in
everybody's done a good job against Bo Nix. Everybody.
We got some players, but it's a work in progress. You know, it's a rebuild. I'm rooting for Glenn, but I would agree.
A prime example. Cleveland has Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel has not thrown a pick in a couple of games and has had multiple touchdowns in the last couple of games. we don't think Dylan Gabriel's great. But clearly Stefanski has taken Dylan Gabriel, and every week Dylan Gabriel looks better. He's limited. I'm not saying Dylan Gabriel's Drake Maye, but you can see Dylan Gabriel today and Dylan Gabriel 4 weeks ago. He's getting better. You got to make stuff better on your side of the ball.
Yeah. Not a lot of progress on the defense.
Okay, so Kansas City's at Denver. They are a favorite, but they're at Denver. And I made a bold proclamation before the year. I said, the dynasty's over. I did not say Kansas City would fail to make the playoffs. I said they'll make the playoffs. And they're going to win another Super Bowl. Andy Reid and Mahomes may win another Super Bowl. But this going to the AFC Championship every year, going to the Super Bowl every year, that's done. And they'll be good. They'll be a playoff team. But you're not going to get 4 more trips to the Super Bowl in 5 years. And if they lose to Denver, they're 5-5, okay? And 4 games behind the Broncos. So only one team's ever started 5-5 and won a Super Bowl. The reason I made this proclamation was Mahomes is really expensive. Chris Jones and Kelsey are really old. It gets harder. Andy Reid, 67. But mostly I said Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton in division. You're not going to win this thing going away. You're going to have to get in as a wild card team. One of the great advantages Brady had very early, I think, in his career, Peyton Manning was in the AFC East and they moved him to the AFC South. They realigned the divisions. So Tom just got buys and Tom got home playoff game. Tom struggled to the very end when he had to go to Denver and play in the snow. But Tom was in Foxborough. Tom was at home. Tom was comfortable. Tom got an extra week of prep. He got the bye. Those days are over for Kansas City. You're not getting that number 1 seed anymore. Not with Peyton in the building. Say what you want about Bo Nix. Not with Harbaugh and Herbert in the building. You're not getting that number 1 seed. And so I've said this before. So much of Saban's run was the incompetency of the rest of the SEC. So much of LeBron's dominance in the NBA was the incompetence of the NBA's Eastern Conference. It's very, very hard. Once Kirby Smart, Texas get into the SEC, Nick Saban's like, get me out of here. Urban Meyer dominated the SEC. Then Nick Saban arrived. Right? It's hard to be a dominant golfer, skier team when you got an all-timer breathing down your neck. And so Sean Payton and Jim Harbaugh are arguably the second and third best coach in the league. And Andy may be the first. It's just a natural progression. Mahomes is getting older, and he's a little more expensive. And then you can't miss on his many draft picks, and every good GM misses on draft picks. You can't miss on them now because you don't have the ability to go buy players when your quarterback costs what Josh Allen does or a Herbert does or a Mahomes does. You can't. So I think the game is it is not in my blazing 5. I said, if it was only -3, I think I would take Kansas City. It's 3.5, so it's a stay away for me. And here's Patrick on facing the rival Broncos.
I think you understand this game's important. I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, it's a divisional game, and they're always important. But with them having the lead and us needing to go out there and win to have a chance to win the division, I think guys understand that. So if you lose this game, it's going to be with them having the tiebreaker and would that be like 4 games ahead of us? It'd be tough to go back and get that one. But all you can do is just handle this week, and that's all you can really worry about. And we still play a lot of great football teams, but like I said, I feel like if we play our best, we can beat anybody.
So I said, when I said the dynasty's over, the reason I said that also is look at last year. They were 11-0 in 1-possession games. That was impressive, but what wasn't, they were in 11 1-possession games. Oh, that's because Jim Harbaugh arrived in the division, and Sean Payton was in year 2 and had his quarterback in division. So, I mean, the Raiders are non-competitive. They're a mess. But I said before, I'm not sure there's ever been a division in football that has had a Jim Harbaugh, an Andy Reid, and a Sean Payton. That's as good as coaching gets. I mean, the Rams, you think, they should win their division every year. Well, Kyle Shanahan's in division, and now Mike McDonald's in division. So it matters. It really does. I think this is going to be a great game. I like Kansas City, but I don't love them for the obvious reasons. Denver at home, and Sean Payton in spots like this is really good. Today's show is brought to you by our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. This is that golden time of the year when it's not just pro football, NBA, college football, college hoops, hockey all share the stage. There's always something to bet on. If you haven't tried your first bet on Hard Rock Bet yet, there's still time to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. All you have to do is place $5 bet. That's it, $5. If it hits, you not only get your winnings, but $150 in extra bonus bets. And if you're looking for an edge before you lock in, check out the Hard Rock Bet Stats Hub. Trends, it's loaded with streaks, stats to help guide your picks. So numbers don't lie, neither does the data in there. The Hard Rock Bet app sportsbook, it's the only legal sportsbook for whenever you're in Florida. It's also live in Arizona, Ohio, New Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, Colorado, coming soon to more states. Plus, Hard Rock Bet offers new promos every single day. So whenever you're listening, just open the app, check out what you've got any day of the week. Download the Hard Rock Bet app and make your first deposit.
A game I did not put in the Blazing Five. And Dave Wannstedt, the former Bears coach, going to be here in 10 minutes to talk about it. I didn't put the Bears-Minnesota game in. I just want to watch it. The lines, I don't know. Are the Bears overvalued? Here's the interesting thing. I don't need my young quarterbacks to be perfect. I need progress. I'm not looking for perfection. The Vikings are bad on third down. They're giving the ball up, pre-snap penalties. I'm not getting progress. So the interesting thing is J.J. McCarthy and Justin Jefferson are not working. He's averaging 4 catches a game. So you can go back to 2023 when the Vikings had Kirk Cousins and Josh Dobbs and Nick Mullen and Jaron Hall. Nobody was talking about Justin Jefferson quitting. There's a lot of talk now. Justin Jefferson's body language is bad. So that tells me the belief in the building practice is not great. That's what it tells me. So I don't think J.J. McCarthy has to beat the Bears. I think the Bears are pretty good. I was just asked this morning by somebody in Chicago, what do you make of the Bears? And I said, they're exactly what you see on TV. They're good enough to beat average teams narrowly. They got to clean some stuff up. They need DeAndre Swift back, but they're a good, solid playoff-feeling team that just needs to keep getting 7, 8, 9% better every weekend. It's really interesting. What also doesn't help J.J. McCarthy, let's be honest about this. You ever worked at a place and you have this employee that everybody loves and the company's better with the employee, and then the company does not pay that employee, goes across the street and he crushes it, and the guy that replaces him at your company, and not very good. Everybody's watching Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold. They were both in the building, and they're both having MVP years. So that doesn't help J.J. McCarthy because the two guys that everybody liked in the building left, and they're crushing it. So it just adds a dimension of pressure on him. So I don't need him to beat the Bears. I don't need him to be perfect. But you got to pick up first downs on third. You can't have the giveaways. You got to get out of the pre-snap operational stuff. I said that about Caleb Williams first 3 weeks. I'm like, you got to get the operational stuff down. Because I've just seen too many quarterbacks with this coaching staff. I mean, this is a good tool belt. This is a good tool belt. I get Kevin O'Connell, a great left tackle, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and the Vikings in the offseason, they spent money on the O-line, the D-line, the running back room, and the secondary. And we just saw them win, 13, 14 games last couple years. So, yeah, everybody knows it can be done with this group of guys that have all been upgraded in the offseason. So there's no question there's pressure. Here's Kevin O'Connell on his young quarterback, J.J. McCarthy.
Most importantly, what I look for is the consistency of being able to put some routine things in that category of I can expect them every time. And it becomes second nature. And sometimes when a guy's making his third or fourth start now or fifth start this week, it's a lot to ask in the midst of games, especially how they've kind of played out. But that doesn't change the fact that we're, in a business of, trying to go 1-0 this week. There's been a lot of encouraging things to go along with some things that, we can improve on. And he knows that. We know that.
Yeah, the false starts. I think they had 7 or 8 penalties last week. It was ugly. That was like the most in 25 years. That was ugly. That's what the road team is supposed to do in Minnesota. So this is not a game I'm going to pick. I'm going to watch it. It's a weird line to me. I think Chicago's the better team. I also think Caleb Williams and Ben feel like they get a field goal better every week. They just get a little tighter every week. So I don't have a strong feel for it, but I'm fascinated by the J.J. McCarthy angle. That I think is interesting. Former Bears coach Dave Wannstedt joining us in studio next. Well, he coached the Chicago Bears, still beloved by the plumbers union in town and every Italian joint. Dave Wannstedt joining me in studio. Listen, you thought you were going to go to Naples you're going to be up here doing Bear playoff shows for the next month. So the Caleb Williams thing, somebody asked me today, and a fan of the Bears, what do you think of them? I said, they are what they look like on TV. They're good enough to beat average teams. Let's see if they can beat good teams.
Yep.
But, and you've been here, you've coached in the NFL, they are getting better. Like the operations are cleaned up. And the one thing I'll say there's two things about Caleb, Coach, I always liked. He doesn't get hurt. A lot of these young guys get banged out. He doesn't get hurt, and he doesn't throw picks. What do you see?
Right on. I mean, he's about 225, 230 pounds. So he's not the 6'4" Josh Allen height-wise, but he is physical runner like that. So you're correct there. He doesn't throw picks. And the biggest improvement on this Bears football team, and they have improved, is the offensive line.
Yeah.
They signed 3 new guys, a center, 2 guards. They haven't missed a down. They've been healthy. And obviously Darnell Wright is heading to the Pro Bowl, their right tackle.
Yeah.
And then they finally got a left tackle,
Stabilized,
kind of stabilized. So, and Ben will not hesitate to bring in an extra lineman as a blocker in situations. He'll keep a tight end in if he has to as a blocker. So he's going to do the things smart to protect
There's
Caleb.
no question the offense is better with Ben. You can see the coaching.
Well, and I tell you, I was thinking about this. Up under center, the first 2 or 3 passes in last week's game, up under center, back, play action pass. And, so when your play action passes, that's timing. So the ball is going to come out quicker. You don't have to stand back there and try and find your first, second, third receiver. So the things he does with the quarterback and the running game, don't lose sight. I mean, last week, DeAndre Swift had 13 carries. Kyle Monunga, the rookie from Rutgers.
7th rounder.
Coach, 7 carries last week, too. So they have evolved their running game from just a wide stretch play, the outside zone, to they're running some downhill stuff now, which is Monunga.
They're also using their tight end better, the kid from Michigan better.
Yep.
I'll argue all day. I like their personnel. I think they got more talent on offense than defense. I think if you took their 10 best players, 8 are offensive guys. But I don't know if they're an elite team. But I've watched them now. They feel like a playoff team.
Yeah, this is a huge game for them this week. Going to Minnesota. Minnesota physical in the first time. They couldn't get the running game going.
Right.
So this game here, I think with a variation, the offensive line's better in the running game. This is going to be a little different game. But this is the litmus. This is the test this week.
So I love Mike Vrabel. Everybody's saying, well, who gets more credit, Vrabel or Drake Maye? And I said, to me in the NFL, winning and losing games comes down to about 7 plays by a quarterback. They may be pre-snap, a sideline throw. Yep. Last night he had a jump pass, a big throw down the seam. And that's the difference between Andy Reid in Philly and Andy Reid in Kansas City. It's not 50 plays, it's 7 by Mahomes. And he's so good in big moments. I watched Drake Maye. I mean, on first down, he's completing 78% of his throws. They're never behind the chains. It's always 2nd and 4. They look pretty well-oiled to me. I don't think it's a mirage. This looks like a really elite team.
What I think, and Mike Vrabel, number one, obviously, he's had success, so he had a blueprint. We know that. But he brings in Josh McDaniels, okay? And Josh McDaniels is a guy that you don't have to coach your coaches. Vrabel and him were together. They work together. If somebody jumps offside, they both know how the other side is going to respond. And when you can hire guys that I did that with Jimmy. Brought us all from Miami. We were all together. If you don't have to waste time coaching coaches on how you want to run a operation and what's important to you and what's a point of emphasis, you can make a lot of progress. And don't lose. And then you walk in and you've got 5 or 6, how many they got of these things, Super Bowl rings, instant credibility. So Vrabel brings instant credibility. He brings coaches that don't have to waste time coaching coaches. And the third thing, they did hit on these draft picks.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean,
Travion Henderson's the real deal.
Henderson's the real deal. Obviously,
Campbell, the left tackle.
Campbell's the real deal. People had him as the first offensive tackle, and then they hit Drake Maye. So they have hit on their draft picks in addition to it.
We were talking about Seattle playing the Rams, probably the best game of the year. John Snyder, the GM, everybody wants their McVay. and I would argue they found him. He's just a defensive coach, is that he took that Pete Carroll defense, and next year they were noticeably better. Another draft class. Now they're even better. They got 4 or 5 guys rotating up front. It's a bunch of, it could be Murphy, it can be DeMarcus Lawrence. It's a bunch of different guys. They're not dependent on like a Bosa or a Khalil Mack or a Von Miller. What do you make of the defense and what he's doing?
Well, I love it. It's the style that I ran everywhere I coached, okay? They're blitzing right now. First, let's go back before he got that Seattle job. When he was at Baltimore as the coordinator, they were first, second, or third every year that he was there in defense. So he obviously had a foundation for what he wanted to do. And you know what's amazing? When he gets the job, when I first got the Bears job, I went out and played golf with Coach Knoll, Chuck Knoll. And on every hole, I was asking him a question. And at the end of the day, we were sitting there having a beer, and he said, you know, keep this in mind. Why did you get this job? And I said, because of my defensive expertise. And he said, when you go in there, there's going to be a lot of holes in the dam. The first thing you do, you spend time and get the defense right.
Yeah, get your side right.
Get your side right while you were hired. And that's what Mike has done. And people talk about him not pressuring. I used to have a guy in the press box. I was only pressuring 12% of the time. He's around 15%. But I used to have a coach tell me it's time to blitz just to keep the offense honest so they know that you had some. And we get into the Super Bowl, that first Super Bowl, and it was the same thing. The coach said, my young guy was saying to me, Coach, you haven't blitzed. And I said, well, okay. And I call a blitz that we ran the first game of the season. Nothing new. We just ran one all year and ran it and sacked Jim Kelly. So my point was that I really appreciate what he's done, and you can do it a lot of different ways. You might get somebody up here that's a blitz maniac, and he's going to see it completely different. You can win Super Bowls doing it a lot of different ways.
So I'm not a fan of firing coaches midseason. Brian Daboll and Jackson Dart got along great. What's going to happen is Kafka is not explosive, so the media is going to like him. The players are going to like him. I call it the substitute teacher rule. Everybody loves him.
Right.
But what happens is if you look at the Giants' schedule at the end of the year, a lot of winnable games. You go on a 3-game winning streak. The players like you. The media likes you. Jackson Dart's like, man, this guy played in the NFL. I like him. And then you're stuck hiring the interim guy. I like Mike McCarthy because I think he's a proven, I said this about New York, Joe Torre, Pat Riley, Tibbs, Bill Parcells, Coughlin. I don't want interim guys getting jobs, coordinators in New York getting jobs. What do you make about how they're dealing with it with Kafka, the interim, and Daboll?
Yeah, I like Mike McCarthy. I'd love to see Mike get that job. Where's he from?
Chicago.
Pittsburgh.
Oh, Pittsburgh guy. You're right. Pittsburgh. My bad. Pittsburgh guy.
No, but seriously, Mike would do a fantastic job there. But, yeah, you're correct. Because what happens is the guy takes over. He wants him to play hard. He's saying, oh, no, I'm just the interim. But deep down, he wants
Of course.
He's going to eliminate no more equipment, no pads in practice. No, I'm serious. You know, no pads. What do you got? Dress code's gone. Forget the dress. No, there's no dress code anymore.
Everybody loves him.
Coach, everybody loves. But I'll tell you what it does do. It kind of gives, I guess, you more time. It gives the general manager, the owner, even though there's rules in the contract, you can't talk to people formally. I get that. But we all know that people are talking behind the scenes to agents. Right. If you want a college coach, I mean, maybe it's Lane Kiffin they're interested in. I think Lane would do a great job.
Yeah.
They get the agent to call Lane's guy and just to find out, would you be interested? And if he says absolutely not, then they won't waste time on him. So it does give you a little bit of a jump that way.
Yeah. I want to ask you about, because you do a lot of college football. And I thought Mendoza last week kind of separated from all the other quarterbacks. I like Dante Moore, but he's 20. And when Sam Darnold came to New York at 21, he was too young. 20 is too young to play in the NFL. So I like Mendoza's 22. He's going to be 23. He's 6'5". He's got a big arm. I thought that Penn State road win, the way he was throwing balls down. But if I told you, so we had a list earlier today of the teams that have to draft a quarterback with their first pick. There's about 5. And 4 others that should consider drafting a quarterback, maybe second or third pick, but like the Rams, Stafford's old, maybe your second or third pick, go get somebody. Would you take a Mac Jones, who's had a hell of a year in San Francisco? You can get him for a very Baker Mayfield level price, or go with a rookie. If you're Cleveland, for instance, Stefanski, who's got a really good defense, you bring in Mac. He's not gonna make a lot of turnovers. He's seen every NFL defense. And I look at all these teams and I think, well, if Dante Moore doesn't come out, if Sellers in South Carolina, who I like, doesn't come out, would you go with the rookie or Mac Jones?
Wow. You know what? I would have to, I'm going to be honest with you, I would have to really deep dive into these guys. Mendoza is a guy that I think because of maturity, I think the quarterback position, that's what held Sam Darnold. Sam should have stayed there at USC.
He was just a kid.
No, he was a kid. So I think maturity at the quarterback position has a lot to do with it. A lot of these guys that they're talking about, these quarterbacks, are just juniors, transfer guys, one-year wonder type guys. You know, you'd like to see a little bit of history about them. I might go with Mac Jones or to be honest with you, just because I know what I'm getting.
Yes.
I know what I'm getting as compared to taking a chance on a first-round pick and losing it.
Dave Wannstedt is joining us, 39 seasons coaching. Let's go back to the NFL. It used to be that you gave quarterbacks 3 years. That's over. Now these college kids, they got private coaches, 7-on-7 summer. I always say Thanksgiving year 2, you and the GM got to go upstairs quietly, privately, and make a decision. So J.J. McCarthy has struggled. He's been very good on script, pretty bad off it. My take is just give me the rest of the starts. He was hurt last year. If you're in that room, you're J.J. McCarthy. You won with Sam Darnold. You won with Kirk Cousins. Hell, Josh Dobbs without a practice won. You've got a good roster. Yep. What does Kevin O'Connell or you would you need to see the rest of the way to go, okay, we're not going to draft the quarterback. He's the guy.
This is his 4th NFL start, right? We all know that. Yeah. 4th start coming up this week against the Bears. And I'm a JJ fan. I'm a fan of his, and I would go back to, he's a young quarterback. What can I do to help him? I just think that they got to do more. You see what the Bears are doing. The Bears are up under center. They're going play action pass. They're running the ball. And then a lot of the touchdown to win the game, Caleb Williams, that was a fake run or pass option play.
Yeah.
Run or pass option. The tight end and receiver are coming across the field. You know, Cole Kmet made a great block. My point is, JJ's a good enough athlete that you can do some things, in my opinion, I would, to protect him a little bit more. I mean, you got to try to keep him out of harm's way until he gains some confidence, because right now, I mean...
He doesn't have any confidence.
He got no confidence. Coach, when you complete 40% of your passes in the second half or whatever he did last week, that doesn't give you much confidence. I don't care what you say at a press conference.
Is there a team, like for instance, Seattle Rams? I actually like Seattle. Better special teams. They run the ball really consistently. They're a great road team, strangely. Do you have a feel on that? I think it's the best Fox game and the best game of the year. Seattle Rams, what's your gut on that?
Wow. I kind of like the Rams because I think the Rams are a little more complete team.
They're older.
Yeah, they're older, but we're talking about one game, right?
Right.
One game for 3 hours. For 3 hours, I like the Rams' young, aggressive defense, okay? And obviously they got the quarterback and the explosives. So I like the Rams. I just think they're a more complete team.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue. They've been using 3 tight ends. In the middle of a season, they changed their offense. Yep. It's very impressive. So right now, you had Charles Haley in Dallas, and he could be a little disruptive. So in Philadelphia, they have A.J. Brown, and he wants the ball. Yep. And just like with Haley, you were winning games. And that mostly soothes friction. What do you do when you have a great player, A.J. Brown, Charles Haley? They're a little disruptive, and they're verbal. You're winning, but a coach told me this years ago, the only thing that gets in the way of a great roster is cluster injuries or drama. Yep. Nothing else. You can even be average at quarterback. You'll win games. What do you do with A.J. Brown?
The quickest way to be defeated is to be distracted, right? and you got to just be careful. I don't know. I think they're doing the right thing. You know, they know how good he is. I think he likes winning. He just wants the ball. I mean, I would love to know what the one-on-one conversations are between Nick Sirianni and A.J. Brown. You know, I think it comes down to sitting down and just having
Did you sit down with Haley?
Oh, God, yes.
You did?
Yeah, he threatened to beat me up a couple of times. but I did. Oh, Charles, every day I would go out of my way to try to talk with him, you know, and just have a relationship with him. I think that goes a long way, and I'm sure that Nick does. I assume he does, but I think that's the best way. And then other guys on the team, you know, what's the relationship with other players on the team, with the player? You know, I had a couple of Tony Casillas and a couple of defensive linemen that were veteran guys, big-time players, and they would talk with Charles, you know, and so I think communication in that situation is the number one key.
There's never a perfect locker room.
No.
Even the Cowboys when you were winning Super Bowls?
Oh, God, no. Are you kidding me?
Right?
Oh, no, there's not. There's not. And as long as guys are working hard and showing up on time. Now, this carries over to practice or it carries over to meetings, then you got a problem.
Did you ever have a great player who was a bad practice player?
No, not. I have a few guys that at the end of their careers, when I was at the Bears, my first year, Richard Dent, Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Right? Richard came out and he wanted to play. He played another year, did a fabulous job for me. Fabulous job. But he was just an older guy, and his being able to run and do the things.
Did he come to you and just say, can I get a few of these off?
No, I just didn't. I just said, take some plays off. Now, the Fridge came to me the first practice I ever had. Wait, now think of this. I'm the first-time head coach, and we go out to Mesa, Arizona to get out of the weather because I wanted to evaluate the team before the draft. And I said, guys, I told them after we stretch, and Cubs are in the spring training. Thousands of people, right?
Yeah.
Out there. Chicago fans. So it's important to get off on the right foot your first time. And I said, after we kind of talk to you, we're going to run a half a lap and then go to our drills. So we do it. I blow the whistle. Everybody takes off running. The Fridge starts walking over to the bicycles. I said, Fridge, come here. I said, we got to take a lap. He looks at me and says, Coach, I can't run anymore. And I said, you can't run anymore? I said, well, we'll go over on the bikes and we'll talk about this when we get home. So I call him in and I said, Fridge, this isn't going to work. And I said, if he can't run in our scheme, he says, well, Coach, you know, I got to work. I need a job. I'm building a house in South Carolina. And I said, I'll tell you what, back then, if you stayed 8 weeks, you got your full salary as a player.
Okay.
So I said, I'll be right back. Don't move. So I get on to McCaskey's office, and I said, we got to keep the Fridge. I'm going to keep him 8 weeks and 1 day. Okay, but he needs to be on this team. He will help us. So McCaskey said, fine, if that's what you want to do. So I go back. I said, Fridge, 8 weeks and 1 day, but I need you as a short yardage guy. I need you to help the young players. Coach, I'll do whatever you need. And he was fantastic. We kept him 8 weeks and 1 day. It was unbelievable. Yeah. So did I ever have a player that couldn't run? Yes. To answer your question.
Dave Wannstedt, nobody better.